We hear an awful lot about the COVID-19 virus striking Europe and striking, of course, the United States, but there are other parts of the world that are actually late to the party, if you want to say that. And Kyle Horne has been active in forefront in the African nation of Malawi because COVID-19 just arrived there this past month. Kyle, nice to have you with us. Tell me a little bit about that evolution and how you got involved with Malawi in the first place.
Yeah, so Malawi is known as the warm heart of Africa, and it holds a warm part of my heart. It's a country that's one of the poorest in the world, and it's for years been hit by the HIV epidemic. And so that's initially what brought me down there. Was my mom lived in Africa back in the 70s. My house was just surrounded in stories and paintings and everything was Africa when I grew up. So it was, when I first went down there when I was 16, it felt like it was something I was pretty accustomed to already. But over the last 11 years, I've been able to work with a lot of different Malawians in creating this program called Together Act Now. So we use theater as a vehicle to try and make a difference in providing educational programs in villages. So we bring HIV messaging out into remote villages where we then provide free on-site testing. And we have tested over 8,400 people on site. And we've also educated over 100,000 Malawians in remote areas that don't really have much access to radio, TV, or anything else that would really allow them to be knowledgeable on HIV and how it's transmitted and how to protect themselves. So with that,
taking that to the next step with COVID-19, because again, communication is really important in this, as we've all learned, right?
Yeah, so it's been a really interesting transition over the last couple months because we were waiting to see if it was even going to arrive in the country. And when it did, the first thing that happened was they put a lockdown and they have a ban against gatherings of over 100 people. Our entire program is successful because the smallest group that we ever have gather is 200.
No.
So we have between 200 to 2,000 people that gather at every one of our shows. And so it's definitely been a moment where we've had to pause and go, okay, what we typically do that makes us such a success within our communities, we can't do anymore because we need to make sure that we're putting their safety of our villagers and of our volunteers first. So we've had to really think about what does Together Act Now represent? You know, we represent a unique way to get a message across and to really try to enact societal change. So we're really trying to focus on how do we use those skill sets and our relationships in the villages to try and really educate people on what the novel coronavirus is, COVID-19, how it spreads, and getting down, man, that hand hygiene. I tell you what, it's one of the biggest things that we're trying to educate people on down there.
And you're also now trying to raise money to get that message out because this is a nation of, 18 million people. There's a lot of people to reach there. But here's a surprising fact, and for those of you who might be interested in donating to this cause, there are 7 ventilators and 25 ICU beds for a nation of 18 million. Is that true?
Yeah, I know that they are working right now on trying to get more ventilators into the country. But yeah, when this hit, it was 7 ventilators and 25 ICU beds. And I wouldn't necessarily say that those 25 ICU beds were fully up to international standards of what an ICU bed would be considered.
Yeah. So how much money are you trying to raise? And tell me about what specifically you'll be using it for.
Yeah. So right now we are trying to raise $10,000. And the idea is that this money is going to be utilized in a couple different ways. So we have both messaging and education, which is going to be really integral to our success. And then we also have different systems that we're trying to put in place. So we are working with local tailors to be able to to be able to make masks. Yeah. So we're really wanting to make sure we're getting reusable masks out into the community. We're building these really cool, they're called tippy taps. So you take 2 sticks, you put them into the ground, and then you put another stick kind of across it, and then you hang from it just a little, like a bucket or something that has a lid on it, and a piece of string is attached to it. And at the bottom of that string is a little piece of wood that sits off the ground. Someone puts their foot on that piece of wood, and it tips down, and there's a little hole that you poke into it, and water comes out. So no one has to touch it. So it's hands-free. It's like an automatic sensor, but without the electricity and automatic everything. So yeah,
it works, right?
It's pretty incredible. And then you have a string hanging nearby and you have soap attached to it. So we're looking to supply a minimum for every single tippy tap that we build. We're looking to supply 6 months of soap, or as long as this lasts. And then one of the big things is just getting that messaging across. So I just worked on a COVID-19 book here in America that's actually going to be released tomorrow through one of the top 5 pediatric hospitals in the nation. So I'm taking a very different story, and I'm working with local Malawians to try and create an educational story that'll be relatable to the local community down in Malawi, and we'll really educate them on how this spreads and what they can do to stop it. And then on top of that, we're working to create songs. That's something that has been a big part of what we do, and a big part of our success is having music involved. So right now we're working on a song that's a couple different songs, and they're all about how do you wash your hands, keeping that social distance. We're even working with a Peace Corps volunteer from the 60s who in the 60s wrote a song about, well, wrote a lot of songs, but they were #1 hits. And it was, feed your child peanut butter, washing your hands properly, all of these message songs. And he's a doc here in America. And so he wrote these #1
right?
songs.
Dr. Jack Allison.
Yes, that's right, Dr. Jack Allison.
So as we wrap up this, Kyle, tell me where people can go online to find you and where they can donate.
Yeah, of course. So togetheractnow.org is our website. It's really simple to find. And the neat thing right now is our board of directors has actually agreed to match the first $1,500 donated. So right now, if you go on and you donate $50, that's going to be able to get us 50 masks that'll go out into the village. If you donate $20, we're going to be able to build a tippy tap. That money goes really far. None of that money stays here in America. I don't make any money from the work that I do with this organization. It goes directly down to Malawi, and every single dollar counts because the dollar goes a lot further down there.
Well, we appreciate the good work you're doing there in Malawi. That's really an amazing story, and we wish you the very best. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you, and I look forward to hopefully being in your studio soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kyle.
Take care.